We're sitting down with the Thompson Councilman, Scott Mace, who's running for Town Supervisor again this year. Scott Mace, Scott, welcome to the program.
Oh, thanks, Patricia. I appreciate that. Good to see you.
So good to see you too. And this is not the first time you ran against Bill Reiber for supervisor. This time around, I understand this is the third time you guys have faced off each other.
No, just a second time.
Second time, okay. So, why did you want to put your hat in the ring again and want to become town supervisor again?
I think there's a lot of different ways to approach things, and I don't always agree with the current supervisor and the way he does things. We've reaped the financial benefits of the casino for the last 5 years now, I think. But being a businessman and being a very busy businessman where I had to control my inventory, control my costs, control payroll, I'm in a position where we can go forward and make arrangements for what our future holds. We're really facing a challenge if these casinos in New York City come to fruition. We used to get about $2.6 million in aid. That was just 3 years ago. Now we're down to 2.01, and that's just with Newburgh opening up. So we've already seen a 25% decrease in the revenue coming from them. I want to move forward, look at ways to save money, and challenge our department heads so they can save money and we can keep moving forward and growing as a community.
Right. So this leads into one of my next question is what are some of the top concerns or problems you see is facing Thompson now, and how do you plan to address them?
Well, I think a lot of it's the rising costs, limited resources, and aging infrastructure. We've done very well. We've had a couple of great grant writers that were able to secure a lot of grant money for us and either zero or very low interest financing. But there's so many projects that we need to keep moving forward. A lot of our infrastructure is 30, 40, 50 years old. And that's going to be a challenge if we're going to continue to grow. And this community is growing. And, the whole dynamic of the community is changing. We need to all work together. And I think we need to draw everybody in the community together because there's so much divisiveness right now. There's so much hate and so much lies, and it makes me sick a lot of times. And the only way to counteract that is love and truth, and then talk to each other and find some sort of compromise where everybody's happy and we can continue to move forward. And I just don't see a lot of that happening right now.
When you mentioned that, are you saying that on the current town board or just in politics generally?
Not even politics, it's just the community. There's so many divisive sides where, because the community is changing, a lot of people don't like the community changing. Well, some businesses have actually been driven out because of backlash from some of these people. And we need to have those conversations to keep us moving forward. There's just no reason for it. We're all in the same boat. If we're not all pulling in the same direction, then we're just gonna sink. It's tough for me to watch, and I have a personality where I can do that. I can talk to people and I listen to people. As a pharmacist for 35 years, I had to listen. First thing, you had a problem, I had to listen. And then a lot of times I had to explain a very complex situation in terms that are easy to understand. And I think I can bring that to the supervisor position as well.
Right. So like this come, November 4th, folks vote you in. Come January, you're in the office. What are let's say the top three things you're gonna start working on right away?
Wow. I think code enforcement, there's a lot of things that have been ignored, maybe not ignored, but not a priority. And I think we need to work on code enforcement and keep our area beautiful. If we're going to be a tourism destination, then we need to look like it. We need to work with the casino and find ways to cross promote our businesses that are in the community. We need to find a way to have Thompson be affordable for everybody. We want those businesses and families to thrive. We've worked on the parks. We have 3 new parks now. They are all amazing. We have programming for them for the kids and adults. And it's just a great place to go take a walk and relax as well. I'm a fiscally conservative guy. I'm a guy that wants to save. I've watched our fund balances decrease the last couple of years. It's nice to get a tax decrease, but we should be setting some of that aside for the future. And that's the kind of person I am. I want to start working on that and saving for our future. I want to keep the programming for the parks. Keep working on that. We've done so much. We have craft days. We have swimming for the kids. We do cultural excursions. We go to the Bronx Zoo. We go to the Museum of Natural History. We offer all this stuff for the kids and the adults these days because a lot of times they won't have access to those things unless we provide them for them. We never had that when I first got on the board. It's not all me doing it. I don't want to come across that this is all me doing this. This is a group effort, but we need to keep moving our community forward.
Yeah. And you mentioned, have communication. How do you plan to ensure transparency and communication between residents and between the county government to have that sort of group conversation going?
You have to be open to new ideas. I don't have all the answers. I don't proclaim to have all the answers. You need to listen. And I've changed my mind on topics. When I thought I knew the answer, well, didn't think I knew the answer, but I thought I knew how I was going to vote. But then you start talking to people, and you don't know everything. There's so many things, different ways to look at it. Um, one of the things I've had a couple of people talk about is different groups wanted to come before the town board and do a presentation to teach us about their cause or what's going on in the community. And those things are just turned down. You're not going to make a presentation. No, we don't have time for this. If you want to do it, have a presentation somewhere, and if the board wants to go, they'll come see it. Well, that's not really what we're there for. We need to know all the facts about it, weigh those facts, and then make a good decision. And I want to do that more and more.
Right. Now, the town's comprehensive plan has been, an ongoing topic. You're in discussions now to create another one. Is that correct?
Right, we're in the last part. We're bringing in a public hearing right now. We're gathering all the comments, and then we're going to move forward. So we're
Right.
trying to. The last one was done, I think, in 1999, so it was overdue. And we want to have a future. We want to have a roadmap of where we want to take the community.
Right. Well, you'll be part of the process, whether you win or not. Is that correct to say?
Well, I was not allowed. I was not chosen to be on the
Okay,
comprehensive
I didn't
plan
know that.
committee, even though I wanted to desperately. Um, and I think there wasn't a lot of good representation from the board. I think Linda did a fantastic job there, but there should have been another town board member on there with different opinions other than what that town board member had, but I was not allowed to be on that. So I've given my input, and I keep trying to give input. I keep talking to people. I keep taking phone calls from people about it, and then I'll bring those ideas forward as well. So,
Well, if this is a chance, if you want to say, what is your vision for how it should guide growth and development in the town of Thompson?
well, I think we need to. If we're not growing, we're dying, right? I
Mhm.
mean that's people don't want change, but if you're just stagnant, you're not going anywhere, and that's not good for anybody. There are areas where this development can be a great spot for it. I think that we've done a good job. We have large developments that are being built, but they're being screened by natural trees and natural screening. So you don't just see a wall of houses. I think we need to look at our lake communities. I've owned for a couple of years now. I've wanted to do like a zoning for the lake communities. Anytime you want to build or do something like community, you got to go to planning board and zoning board, get a variance. It's very time consuming and expensive process. But if we had a lake district around our lakes, it would make it easier for people there. Plus, it would protect our lakes. I think that's important because that's our water, right? If we don't have our water, we don't have anything.
And not only that, it's also a sense of, I'm sure, of tourism, brings tourism. I know in the
Absolutely.
summers, Rock Hill is just busy with a lot of folks visiting.
I have people just a month or so ago. I had a person outside my house at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was just walking the dog, and they're like, "We want to go down by the lake." I'm like, "Well, this is a private lake, but what would you like to do?" And he said, "We're just looking for a spot to pray." And I said, "Absolutely, come down here." They see the beauty, and people watch. He actually circled the lake looking for a spot, but since there was no public access, he was bold enough to ask me. But we need to develop that and encourage people to come up here and do these things. They come up here for the beauty. They come out of the city where everything's mortar and brick, and they want to see it. Just driving down the road. It's funny. I drove uptown today, and I love the area. I mean, I grew up on the Canadian border where it's all wild, and I'm looking and I'm just seeing all these political signs, and I'm thinking, geez, I just can't wait for this election to be over so we can get this off and get our beauty back. But we need to encourage people to come to our community and spend their money here.
Now, you mentioned some of the challenges that they're facing Thompson now, and I think it's facing a lot of the towns and villages in Sullivan County, and such as infrastructure, aging infrastructure, housing, affordable housing, and
Yeah.
sort of community engagement. Which one of those you think you would prioritize first, going into your administration?
We definitely need to find some housing. I think the Golden Ridge development was something that happened when I first got on the board. We had this overlay zone that we're able to put that in there. It's great because it's insulated, so it doesn't look too urban around us, but it gives people some affordable housing, and it's a safe place for people to raise a family. You go in there, you see everything from young families to older, retired folks. So it's a great way to do it. A lot of people aren't building houses; they can't afford the houses, can't afford the taxes on them. So this is a way for them to stay here, stay close to friends and family, because so many people are leaving, and that's going to be tough. The infrastructure will continue to be a battle every day. It's just always something that'll break, and we tease our water and sewer department head because he's always got big bills every town board session because there's always something that needs to be upgraded. So we just need to keep focusing on that and keep working. We need to analyze every single dollar that we spend. There's not a pot that we can just keep pulling out of for the rest of time. So we need to elect leaders who are committed to financial responsibility and they consider the priorities of the community that they're living in. I'm 100% focused on being a supervisor. I don't have another business. I don't have any other potential conflicts. I'm just going to be a full time supervisor. And I think I can bring that a lot of more things and get a lot more things done. With all due respect to Bill, he's done some good things, absolutely. But we need to have somebody who's in there 100% of the time.
Right. Now, you've been on the town board for a very long time. What experience from your time as a council person will say, I guess, best prepare you for this role as supervisor?
I think that's a great question. The best puts me in there. I think just learning that I don't know everything, and that when you are presented as a topic or a project by somebody, you need to look at the other side and see how it's going to affect the people around them, how it's going to affect the water and sewer, how it's going to affect the community, and I think that's been a lot of things. I've become a lot more. I was in a retail setting where you make decisions continuously, and 5 minutes to get something done. Here, I've learned that you got to look farther down the line, not just think about what's going to happen now. We got to think about what's going to happen in 5, 10, 20 years, and I've definitely learned to do that.
Right. Now, they said this is your second time facing off with Bill Reiber Jr. What changed from it? Has anything changed from the last time you ran against him?
Well, I've been pretty much isolated from a lot of things on the board. That's been a little difficult for me. When you're seen as a threat, you're not always brought into the fold on a lot of things. And I'm not that type of person. I can respect you that your opinion is different from me. We may disagree about something here and now, but that doesn't mean I don't respect you and like you going forward. And it's been very difficult for me the last few years because I've been isolated from a lot of those meetings and being allowed to do certain things. So I can either just accept it or I can do something about it. And I'm doing something about it. Everybody deserves to be heard and be respected, and it's not happening right now.
Right. Well, Scott, we ask this to all our candidates when we end. When voters come either for early election or for Tuesday, November 4th, when they come to the polls, why should voters vote for you over your opponent?
Because I'm going to be 110% focused on the job in hand. I don't have any other conflicts like we talked about. I cannot promise any miracles, but I can promise honesty, fairness, hard work, and dedication while I'm sitting there.
Right. Well, again, Scott, thank you so much for talking to us. We'll talk to Scott Mace, town council member for the town of Thompson and candidate for the town supervisor running against the incumbent Bill Reiber Jr. in the upcoming election. Scott, as always, thank you so much for talking to us. I do really appreciate it.
No, thank you, Patricio. Appreciate you.